You're still muted, Paula.
I'm just going to leave it on now that I'm talking. So since I keep forgetting, looks like it's going to be just the 5 of us, which is great. So I'll go ahead and get started. But before I start, I would like to check, because she was saying she couldn't do it because she was a co-host. I'm supposed to be a co-host so I can share my screen. So I just want to make sure I can do that. So if you don't mind me just checking that. Looks like I can do it. Can you guys see that? Can you see that? Okay, good. I'm going to stop sharing. All right, I just want, if I had to go back in the room and ask her to make me a co-host, I wanted to do it before we got started. So I'm excited. Let's see. Maureen, what chorus are you with?
Coeur d'Alene Chorus. I'm a relatively new member. Heard a lot about you already, so
That's
I'm pleased to
awesome.
meet you.
Yeah, I haven't ever met you. I haven't been out there since you, I guess, since you have been there. That's
No, just a few months.
excellent. Beautiful. And tell us what chorus you're with, Melody,
I'm with Alaska Sound Celebration.
who just did a wonderful, wonderful performance at International.
It was most enjoyable.
Oh, it was wonderful. And Kath, is it Kath? Okay, you're muted.
Yes, I am. I'm sorry. It's Kathy, and I'm here as your recording technician. I am not an assistant director.
Okay. Well,
And I'm with Helena Express Singers.
oh, well, thank you, Kathy. I appreciate that.
I'm the team leader, but I'm not an assistant director.
Okay. And then Margaret is actually a director, but she can introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Margaret from Olympia Chorus.
Yeah. She's going to be teaching the next class. So she's just in here with us. And my name is Paula Davis, in case you might not know that. But tonight in this particular class, it seems a little weird that this is what we're starting off with. But sometimes one of the things that really bothers us, because as let me just say that I understand. I was an assistant director for about 30 years as a Sweet Adeline. So I understand the many different things, and that was under 3 different directors in the 30 years. But we are going to talk about what to do with these things here and with our bodies. You may or may not be leading a song in front of the chorus. You might be directing a sectional. You might have the chorus for an evening, but either way, we're going to talk about some of the ways those things happen. So tonight we're going to look at some different ways that we impact our singers with our bodies and our hands. And then maybe play with them a little bit. Since we have just a few people, we can probably take a few minutes. It's a little weird on Zoom, but we can try it. And the others of us that are not trying to direct can sing muted. We'll follow your direction, but we will mute ourselves, right? Okay. So we'll get to experiment and play with that. And then we'll talk a little bit about directing without words. A lot of times we talk a lot while we are up there directing. So we're going to talk about all those things. Just so you know, Margaret will introduce herself more fully in the next class, but just so you know, I was a music educator. I taught middle school for a while, and then I went to high school for about 6 years before we moved out of the state of Texas, and I just decided I was done at that point. I was also a church choir director for 10 years, and I have been assistant director to in the Ridgetones to for Dale Syverson in what Houston Horizon Chorus when Betty Klipman was the director, and I was her assistant director, and then the Velvet Hills Chorus where Kathy Carmody was the director. So I've had some pretty high level directors that I had the opportunity to learn from, even though I was a music educator. So I value those times. So I'm going to ask Melody, I'll start with you. How long have you been Peggy's assistant director?
I think it's about 12 years now. In the beginning, there were two of us. Deb Zeller and I were co-assistant directors, and unfortunately Deb passed away about 6 years ago. And Peggy opted to just keep a single assistant, and then last year changed it to associate. I still haven't figured out what the difference is.
I have one of each, and I don't know what the difference is. So thank you for that. Maureen, obviously you're new, but have you been a director or an assistant director before? Have you ever done this kind of thing?
No, I haven't.
How exciting. That's very exciting. Well, there's a first time for everything. I'm sure she will tell you, but Margaret was assistant director and had no idea she was going to be the director until they needed one. So you never know. You never
Right.
know. Usually you won't have an occasion like that, but you never know. So what I'm going to say is that you may already have some way of, kind of writing things down that are important to you. But I'm going to ask you if you get a piece of paper, if you have access to I'm looking for one myself. This is not really 8.5 by 11, but you get the idea. And what we're going to do is just divide it into 4 columns. So if you will fold it in half and then in half again, kind of like that. So when you open it back up, there's 4 different columns that you can see. This is only a half a piece of paper, so it's quite small. But what I would like for you to do in that first column is write things down that are important to you, that you want to remember. A fact or an exercise or a way of doing something that you want to make sure you remember. It's the really important things. In the second column is your ahas. So it's either a brand new idea or you finally understand why people do that. So second column is ahas. The third column, I'd ask you to jot down any questions you have, because I don't want you to forget. In this small of a group, you can probably feel free to ask anytime. But if, I'm right in the middle of doing something, I just don't want you to forget. And then in the fourth column, I'll ask you at the end to write that, because the fourth column is your action plan. How do you plan to implement? And what do you plan to implement? So those are just called nifty notes. Isn't that exciting? So I'm going to show you my screen. We're going to jump back and forth between the screen sharing because we're going to be practicing and trying things. So. Hey. So this is what we're wanting to do, is direct for singer success. There's no other major reason for us to be waving our hands other than to help those singers be as successful as they can. So we're going to be looking at how can we do that more effectively and how can we better communicate with the body in our hands. So I can see all of you on the side of my screen, so you can just talk to me there. What is our job when we stand in front of the chorus or a section? What's our job as an assistant director?
I would say to keep them unified, to keep the artistry together, and just to lead them down the path that they should already know what it is.
Okay, well, assuming they've already learned the song, yes,
Oh.
that would be helping them stay together to do that plan. Yeah. Anything else?
Well, like you said, Paula, teaching the song is takes a lot of time. So that's an important piece too, and to teach it to the group as a whole.
Absolutely. And you'll be amazed at the things that you can teach them by what you do with your body and hands that will make it easier for them to learn it and to sing it while they're learning it. So here is what one director said: a conductor must make the music visible to the musicians with your hands. Okay, so they have to see music in our hands. There are two components to conducting, and I love this. They are expressiveness and exactness. Sometimes that doesn't feel the same, like you can do both of those at once, but that's our job, is to be both expressive and exact so that we can help our singers see and feel the music. So the first thing we're going to talk about is body alignment. Okay, I'm going to go. I'd like you to really notice this. And this is going to be true under every section that we do. In body alignment, we as director have to model what we want them to do. There was Therese talking about modeling, and we must be the model as well. And because they do imitate us, for better or for worse, they do imitate us. So I'm going to stop sharing now. Oh, there you are. That was fast. So today we're going to look at how we can change this. Now, this is kind of weird because we're on a Zoom. So you're going to have that. I might stand up and try to adjust this just a little bit so you can see more of our bodies. Or if I ask you to direct, you might have to try to do the same thing. But I'm going to sit up really straight right now. So at least you can see that. So the first thing as a director, I would like, let's just all together, and I will say the words, but I would like for you to scoot your chair back just a little bit so you can move your hands without hitting yourself against the table or something. And we're just going, do all of you know tomorrow's another day? Do you know that, Maureen? Oh, good. Excellent. Okay. We're just going to direct the first line of that. Okay. And let's see. I'd like you to do it so that I can see what you're doing. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to say the words. Are you ready? And tomorrow's another day. I hope and pray we'll be together. Hey, excellent. Doing well. Now, what I want you to think about is, as you direct, is your body tall and lifted and wide? A lot of times as a trained director, they tell you to direct inside the box, which is from about here to about a waistline. If anybody's ever watched me direct, I don't adhere to that very much. Because I feel the music a lot bigger than that. So the thing is, we all have to be ourselves in directing. So I'm not going to try to tell you there's one way, but when we reach this way towards straightforward to our chorus, then you see what happens here? It makes this smaller in the area. So when we start, open it up, and when you'll go tomorrow, so that you direct up here so the chest can remain high and wide, which is what we want them to be. We want to model that for them. And in reality, if you could see it, we would want you to stand as a director, just exactly how we want them to sing. Tell me real quick what that is. How do you want them to stand? What were you showing us, Margaret?
This is my thing, to remind myself to lift, and not lean forward or too far back. My tendency is to lean forward to do this. So whoop, long neck in the back, a little bit shorter in the front. Does that make sense?
Yeah, a nice tall neck, spinal column, that exactly. That keeps our chin parallel to the floor, right? And if you're actually trying to lengthen the back of the neck, it does pull your head back in, because as directors, very often, I'm going to turn sideways, we go. Do you see that lean forward? We're trying to help them. And what we need to do to help them is say, instead of leaning forward to them, which takes us out of position, you can see the chin is forward, the shoulders are slumped forward. What I need to do is go, see, so it stays tall, wide, and in place. We'll do it a little bit later, but in another class tomorrow. But you remember that little song, head and shoulders, knees and toes, you used to do with little kids? It's a good way to remind your chorus, except different words. Ears and shoulders, hips and knees, head. So, and we need to model that. So that's a really big thing. If we can start that way, it's the same thing we tell our singers. If you can start with a body that's lifted and wide and relaxed, tall, lifted, wide, relaxed. Seems like an oxymoron to some degree, but once you get used to standing that way, it's effective. But what happens to our singers as they move into halfway, a third of the way to the song? They start reaching for you. Have you seen them do that?
Particularly when the emotions get stronger, that's when they lean in the most.
They may be reaching for the audience, or it may be reaching towards you. But either way, they're throwing their body out of alignment. So as a director, my advice to the chorus is either they can choose it, or we can say 1, 2, 3 places. These are the places we're going to reset our body during the song. But we have to remember that as a director too, because our tendency is to want to pull that sound out of them instead of let them sending it to us. So not only do we need to model it how we start the song, but we have to keep modeling going back to that position for them so they know, right? Well, I mean, sometimes we do it. We lead with our jaw, which always brings the chest forward too. But anytime we get this jaw out of alignment, we're going to cause tension in our singers. So that's why we really need to be aware of, as Margaret mentioned, making this spine nice and long as it moves up towards in the neck. And the chin stays in place and the jaw stays in place. So we haven't even started the song yet, have we? Well, we did. We did one line, but it is what we look like. And as assistant directors, too often we feel like, well, I don't know this song really well because I don't get to direct it very often. And we may be in front of a section for all we know, taking a section leader's place because they're out that night, or maybe you're directing half of the chorus, or something like that. They are going to feel more confident if you stand tall and in control of the situation. If you're nervous and you're kind of leaning towards them and just encouraging them to sing, see what I'm doing? It looks like I'm begging them, doesn't it? We want to communicate to them that we believe they're going to do great. So that's the biggest thing about body alignment. Any questions about that?
I just wanted to share one thing that I heard Dale Syverson say, that during COVID, she watched hundreds of choruses at competition. She went back through videos and watched choruses, and she noticed where the singers' heads started. And then by the end of the song, their heads had gone lower. So that was one of the things that she said, is choose places to reset. But I thought that was just so powerful, because we do tend to start, and then as we go through, it gets lower and lower.
I see it in myself. I do, because it's actually easier for me to keep my body position up and tall as a director. The thing I have to watch out for is reaching my arms out to the chorus and collapsing in the chest, and instead directing wide and up here. But in my quartet, all the time, I start out this way, and then I realize by the end of the song, I'm kind of cocked over to the side, and it's like, okay, that is not helpful. So the thing is, our chorus members will imitate us. And that's what we don't realize. And the chorus members they're not consciously trying to look like you. But when you're showing them leaning forward, they're going to start leaning to you. When you stand nice and tall, and periodically, I will be directing this song, and when I see the chorus drifting down, I will go and continue directing. So they see me tell them, okay, there you've gone, let's go up. And it's not a big deal, but it's visually showing them what they need to do instead of telling them, there we are, without speaking. So I'm going to take you back to this. Did you have any questions about that? Or no, that's not what I want. Yeah, that is what I want. Any questions or thoughts? I will ask you, when you go back the next time you do something, like you direct a song or you work with a section or something, watch. Just pay attention to yourself, not even to your singers as like how they're standing, but pay attention to yourself about your body and keeping it aligned. They will start to model their model. Okay. So the next thing that we do as directors is work with vocal skills, right? We teach them for sure, but we can show them vocal skills with our hands. Certainly our body alignment will help a lot of those vocal skills. So talk to me about what you think we can help them in vocal skills as a director? How can we help them without instructing them? Like during a song, how are we going to help them sing more resonantly or take a more relaxed breath or that kind of stuff? Can you think of anything else that we might need to do to help them sing better?
I do a lot of this, a lot of lift.
Floating, yeah.
Yeah. Like bring it up. And Charlene helped me a great deal because from my classical directing training, would cut them off and then bring my hands down. And what she said was up here, and then that you start the next phrase lifted. And there's no real whoop, we're done, because that cuts off the sound, and that's not, and it cuts off the energy too.
Well, the thing is, when we give them a real, that kind of a thing, it's like going, oh, because they just stop it. So we actually have a lot of impact on our singers with our hands when we're aware of it. So one of the biggest things that I've seen, and it actually really amazes me, because I've done this with groups of every level. And I saw it from Erin Howden, or Erin, whatever her married name is. Howden? Is that her married name? Anyway, but I thought it was brilliant. And that is a C shape from below our ears, up over our head, and down. So I direct that way almost all the time. There's the pitch, and then I go. And there's the ictus. That's when they start. Because I want them to take a breath that opens up to the top and then comes out. So it's just not like, so a lot of times we just go, and people are snatching a breath and they're getting tense. And if their bodies are lifted, all we want to do is take that. See, it gives them time to take a breath. And I can tell you, over time, they can breathe and take it faster. They think they can. But when you do it, particularly in your slower songs, and they get used to doing it, then you can go, and they do the same thing. The thing is, it sets up a resonant sound, because it shows them, it's actually telling their brain to lift the soft palate through that breath, so that they begin with a more resonant sound. So let's just try it. I want you to see Melanie.
I've seen you do this with our chorus at the onset of the song. When you're directing, do you use that in the middle of the song if you feel like they're losing the resonance?
Yeah, sometimes, yes. And sometimes in a song, there is another entryway. Sure. In a ballad. Maybe it's got a ta-da moment and you stop, and then they're going to start again. I usually will take that kind of breath and do it again. So
okay.
Help them reset, not just their body, but reset how they're taking the breath again. So I said, let's just try it. So what we're going to pretend to do is direct how we sang today again. Tomorrow's another day, but we're going to take the breath first, okay? So let's have our bodies tall. Okay, and we're going to take that breath and go. And tomorrow, right? So if we're standing there, the pitch is blowing and we go, tomorrow. That's how long they have to take the breath. Can you feel that? Let's try it again with you being aware of how you feel. Okay, you ready? Just like you're gonna sing. You're all on mute, so I won't hear you. Here you go. And tomorrow. What did the breath feel like? What did that mean, Margaret?
It was long. It wasn't tomorrow. It was tomorrow, which also helps me stay relaxed.
The purposeful breath, isn't it? So that we don't, because when we take that breath, then we've already created tension right in here already. But this is a great way. And in order to teach your chorus, I would have them do that with you or your section. I mean, if you're having to work with a section, teach them to breathe that way and tell them to practice that when they go out in the chorus, that they can be the leaders and help other people know how to do this, because it sets up a lifted soft palate, a relaxed breath, and that creates resonance. And resonance creates blendable sound. So it seems really easy, but I find it magical. Because when I have people starting not together or with not a resonant entry. So if they're going, no, tomorrow, tomorrow, you can tell I sing bass. But that is no resonance. Or you can take a resonant breath. Tomorrow, it sets up a lifted soft palate. So I think that's a simple but awesome way for us to be successful. Anybody ever have trouble getting them to stay together? The thing that I would encourage us to think about, no matter where we're directing, and sometimes a director can't come to a performance and you have all the songs. Sometimes you have a song that you get to direct, and sometimes you just are directing because the director wants to listen or she's not there or whatever. The thing is, if you can be your best to help them be their best, then the director will hear a better sound and hear a better delivery that they can work with. So let's think about in an up tune. I'm just going to name one. On a wonderful day like today. Now, it can get going really, really fast, but I'm not going to take it super duper fast. Do all of you know just that first line or two? On a wonderful day like today, I defy any cloud to appear in the sky. That's as far as we'll go. Okay? So we're going to direct that together. Okay? Take the breath this way, and we'll start. We'll start there. Ready, go. On a wonderful day like today, I defy any cloud to appear in the sky. Okay? Now, I want you to try something with me. Because that's a tempo song, right? And we've already established the tempo, whether we say 1, 2, 3, and however you start, that's okay. But if we, on a wonderful day like today, I defy any cloud to appear in the sky. Okay, so we're using the touch points for the pulse. I don't know if you've ever gotten a comment. As an expression judge, I write it quite a bit, that the tempo is a good tempo for that song, but you need more pulse in it to help create more unity, because the internal sync just gets a little bit out of whack, and that's controlled by the pulse. So pulse goes strong beat, weak beat, strong beat, weak beat. This is in 4/4 or 2/4. Most of our songs are not in 3/4 and certainly not an up tune. So I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. You may not see my face all the way, but so on a wonderful day like today, I defy any cloud to appear in the sky. So I'm just sort of bouncing back and forth. This is the downbeat, strong beat, weak beat, strong beat, weak beat. You can see this one goes a little bit further down. This one doesn't bounce as high. So this is more of a bounce, lighter bounce, more of a bounce, lighter, more of a lighter bounce. So that's just a really easy way to give them and if they don't, if you try it for a little bit and they're still out of whack, tell them. Then you can tell them what you're doing. What I'm doing is directing the pulse, and you have to fit the words all inside the pulse. That's just how it goes. Now, you may not need to pronounce them as distinctly as you think you do. On a wonderful day like today. I mean, that would just be so choppy. So help them know this is the strong beat. So they want to go, on a wonderful day like today, I defy any cloud to appear in the sky. You actually want to give that a little bit more of the pulse, right? And here's something that I learned a long time ago as a choral director, but most people that I see directing don't use it, and I find it the easiest thing in the world, and it's miraculous. That on hard consonant final endings, like S or a T, like how many times do we have that keep going? Or T or D, something like that, is just to go, this is the cutoff. So do it with me, okay? Touch and open. The touch is the cutoff, and we don't want them to keep their mouth closed because they may have to breathe again, right? And come back in. So if, so later on in that song goes, no, that's not at the end of a phrase. This today. I'm trying to think of a final consonant at the end of a phrase.
Sing with the strings of my heart.
Okay, so sing with the strings of my heart. If this is the visual picture that we want them to open their mouth again. Sing is the strings of my heart. So we just, as long as they're saying heart without dropping the jaw, they should heart. It's the tongue only has to lift up and touch the top with a little air. So this is the visual picture. Sing with the strings of my heart. Duh. Right? The same thing with S's. We want them to open their mouth, or if they don't open their mouth, they're going to keep going for way too long. So it's a really easy thing. You have to, if you just practice it a little bit, you'll get that feel. It's just, I used to have a lady in my chorus that she was unique and I loved her. But she said, I love that flicking the booger move. She said, man, that's great. We cut off all together. Yeah. So that's just a really easy thing to do to help them, again, help them be successful instead of being out of sync.
It's very clear, and it doesn't matter where you're standing on the risers. You can see that move. I love it.
Yeah. And it's not hard to do. It's really not. So, and there's a lot of flicking that goes on with directors for cutoffs, all of this stuff. That's very unclear to them. Mm-hmm. Where do they cut off in this whole round movement thing? I've also seen directors in an effort to be finesseful go, where do they cut off in that? Where does that happen? So we do, no matter whether it's very tender and gentle or if it's an uptune, we have to be clear. Yes, Melody.
I did see a director use that once when she wanted the chorus to fade out on the final note of a ballad. So there wasn't a real clear ending that she wanted from them vocally.
I have seen that too. Sometimes that works, and sometimes it just sounds out of sync. So it depends on the song and how well they do it. But the thing is, you can decrescendos if you just bring your hands in. That's going to decrescendo the sound, and then you can cut them off. I don't even know which finger to follow, but I did have a director one time that did that. It was like, what? I don't know what to follow.
Well, that also visually closes down your sound
It does.
and just makes me
Right.
feel like I'm going to drop my chin and my head and everything.
Good point. Good point. Oh my goodness. We got 10 minutes. All right. So just giving you some things. So the next thing we're going to do, we did talk about unity and phrasing. I did talk to you about the touch points. The other thing is, if you can use this circle move, or like you are turning a page of a book, so if I rule the world, every day would be the first day of spring. First day of spring. You can see the page turn. First day of spring. Or if it's easier for you, you could go first day of spring. Because what they want to do is every day would be the first day of spring. And they drag it through. And we need to help them learn a way. I use a turn the page. That's very easy. And sometimes I'll go do a circle with me. First day of spring. You just say that with me. Every day would be the first day of spring. So those are the words that we want solidly there at that time. The rest of the words have to fit in. Do you guys know that song at all? Am I telling you a song nobody knows? Okay. What's your ballad? Melody, what ballad did you guys sing?
I never meant to fall in love.
Okay. So that's a great one. So I never meant to fall in love. But it's easy because it's a descending line and we're trying to stay in pitch. It's easy to slow it down. I never meant to fall is easy to try to manipulate it. And what we want to get them to do is, I never meant to fall in love. You see the gentleness of the hands? That's telling them the way we want the phrase delivered, but it also keeps them together because they know the touch points, right? So those are two ways. You may find another way of using touch points, but certainly that turning the page of a book over or using the circle. I never meant to fall in love. Tells them exactly how you want it to go and where they have to fit the words in. So let's look at this. Creating musicality. We influence and they imagine. So we as assistant directors need to know, if we are directing a song, we need to know how our directors do it. This is not the time for us to decide to get creative. You can do that when the director says, this is your song, do what you would like to do with it. So what we want to do is make sure that we are reflecting the director's intent. But if we're standing in front of them, we're the one influencing them. Help them see what the message of the song is by how your face is and how your hands are moving. Sometimes we just get into something, we just want to direct the words, right? I can't remember the song that I saw. I was working with a brand new director, and it was an assistant that stepped into the position. And she was just trying her very, very, very best to keep them together. But she was directing every word.
That was me, I'm pretty sure.
And no, it actually wasn't. It could have been, perhaps, but who I'm talking about, that was not them, not you. But when we do that and we get into for instance, I never meant to fall in love, because you want to tell them when to do it. Then, first of all, what did I do? I never meant to fall. I mean, we're trying to do it for them. But also, when we do this, they cannot be with us because they don't know what you're going to do. And they're slightly behind you, and they're all different levels of slightly behind you. So we have to give them the picture. If it's a ballad, we want to give them that gentle picture. If it's a uptune, we want to give them that, or the, on a wonderful day like today, I defy any cloud to, that kind of stuff. So the more we do horizontal directing, which is right here, and less, this gets choppy. You can see why it would. There are times you need it. And this is the one thing I try to never tell them what I'm doing. I want them to respond to me. Sometimes they don't get it, and then I have to tell them. And one of them is, if you ever see me go, in the middle of any song, go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. That says you're out of sync. Pay attention. And they know when it happens, they know exactly what I mean. So, but the more we can keep it in a plane and a roundness, we're helping direct the sound. Let's see. So one thing I would say, because we're going to have to end up, is the best thing that we can do as assistant directors anytime, because they're not used to having us direct, is help them feel safe. Because if you do something that's a little funky that they don't know how to respond to, and they just get all messed up, just laugh about it and go, my fault, let's do it again. Help them feel safe, because they are going to want to please you just like they please your director. They're going to want you to be happy with them too. But it's a new person in front of them, and they have to learn how to do it. But those are just some ways that you can help them and feel a little bit more in control, because very often as assistant directors, we don't get a lot of time. And so we get a little flustered, and we go to the just beating the beats for them. And probably the best thing that we can do for ourselves is to take that moment, get our body alignment in place, and take that sea breath in a relaxed way, and then we'll be more relaxed when we begin to direct. So anything else? Oh, and there's that wonderful director. She was my very first Sweet Adeline director. So to become the picture of the music, and they will sing the picture that we create. Okay. If you have any questions or anything like that before we got a minute? No? Well, what I would say is find one or two of those things we talked about and try them. and try them for a few weeks. And if they don't work for you, then find some other way to do it. But I have found those to be really helpful. Well, thank you. Thanks for playing. Yes, there we go. So we'll have more classes together, but next, I think you have a break, and then Miss Margaret is going to have a class for us.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Not sure we need to be recording. Who's recording now? Oh.
I got kicked out of my section leader meeting.
Oh yeah, we're all.
I did that. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I'm joking.
Yeah, we are. Hopefully, everybody got a chance to wrap up. So, Katie, were you able to finish up? Okay.
Yep.
And Paula, you were able to finish up.
Yes, we did.
Good, good. We're just gonna take, just a really short break because we're gonna make up for our little overlap. So, we'll start back up at 7:35 Pacific time. So 4 minutes. You're gonna run out, come back, and we'll go back to our breakout rooms, and I'll be good to go. Drew, did you want me to send you into your breakout room now? Let me see if I can do that. Oh, I might have to, hold on.
Trying to figure out how.
I'll just send everybody back. If you don't want to be there, you want to go to a different one, just let me know. But I'm gonna send you all back, but you can still just take a break don't start until 8:35-ish. Okay.
7:35 Pacific, LOL.
Oh, 7, sorry. I keep saying that because I'm looking at my clock, not yours. Okay. Section leaders. There you go.
How you doing, Margaret?
I'm pretty good. I'm still struggling with some health issues, so
Mhm.
it may be my lot in life, but honestly, going to chorus takes my mind off of it, and it's the happiest hours of my week. So I'm very grateful for that.
I have had that very same experience, and I'm always so grateful. Even if I wasn't in a good place or something when I went there, I was when I went home.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing. How are you?
I'm doing well. Kind of crazy busy, but there's a lot of things that happen right now. Like right after Thanksgiving, we have our judge specialist meeting that goes back over all the international contests and sets up the next year. And
Oh, wow.
I had this. I have to prepare for that meeting. I have to prepare the judges' progress reports, and gets a little wild and crazy.
Well, I have one more minute. I set the teapot on, so I'm gonna go get my tea. I wonder if we get through this quickly, if they can send us to another breakout room, and we could catch the tail end of something.
Oh, I don't know.
If there's just I mean, honestly, Melody ought to be teaching this class.
Well, she may add things.
Paula's session was very interesting. I appreciated it. I've never been to
Yeah.
any kind of director class, so I was very excited to be able to be here for this.
Yeah, well, assistant directors need to know what to do, just like directors do. They don't get to do it as often, so you don't have opportunity to practice quite as much. But... Hi,
Oh,
Sally.
Sally. Sally, you don't get to be in this class. Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Can you all see my screen? Does it? You can. Yeah,
Yep.
because
Yeah.
I actually have you guys moved in the middle, and so it's all broken up and weird. But anyway, so this is the class we're in. I think Melody ought to be teaching it. She has way more experience than I do. But Melody, it's good to see you. And Alaska Sound Celebration just will always have a special place in my heart because of Marie, and yeah, and spending time up there, and Anchorage was really fun. So you're just in a special place, and I'm grateful for that. Okay, why won't there we go. So even though we've kind of done this and we know each other, actually we probably don't need to do this. I know your names, I know where you belong, and I know that both of you are assistant directors, and Paula is just here to keep an eye on me. So tell me, as I was preparing for this, well, Melody, I should tell you that I've just been the director at Olympia Course. I'm going on my 3rd year, so I'm very new director and was in the course just a couple of years before that. So really quite new to barbershop as well. But as I was thinking about this presentation, I began to wonder about why would anybody want to be an assistant director? So tell me, since there's only 3 of you, you all get to share. Why are you an assistant director? Or Paula, why are you a director? Or why were you an assistant director? We'll start with you, Paula.
Okay. Actually, I had somebody ask me that very same question. I had to audition for Dale Syverson in front of the Ridgetown Chorus.
Wow.
She had people auditioning to be her assistant director. And somebody said, why would you want to do that? You'll never get to direct. Because it was her favorite thing to do, was to direct.
Yeah,
and I said, I know, but I'm going to learn a whole lot. And maybe someday I'll know all those things when I'm in a chorus. So it was just an opportunity for me to learn in a little bit more closer fashion than just standing on the risers.
And so she didn't have assistant directors direct very often. Is that what I heard you say?
Well, I was her very first one she ever had.
Oh, wow.
After a year or so, she did give me a song. So I had a song like on each show or something like that I directed. But most of the time, she did not use me in that way.
Interesting. All right, we'll talk a little bit more about how she used you. So Melody, tell me, why have you been an assistant director for as long as you have, and what made you do it to begin with?
Well, we had dual directors when we merged our chorus, and then when Karen moved away, Peggy was like, I need someone to bounce ideas off, was kind of her primary thing. And the thing that she told me when she asked me to do it was that she felt that I had the interest of the chorus at heart more than my own interest. And that's why she wanted me to be her assistant director. Mm-hmm. I valued that comment greatly and have tried to live up to that. I have no formal training. I've been in music my whole life, but the only I mean, I did piano, I did choir, I directed choir at church. But it was when she asked me to be an assistant director that I actually went into, I audited a couple of classes at our local university so that I could speak the same language she did. I knew I knew what I knew, but I didn't know how to say it to her. And so I audited some classes so that we could communicate effectively. And that made a huge difference. And when she first asked me, she didn't really know what she wanted in an assistant director. And so over the years, it has just evolved more and more. And I'm pretty fortunate. I actually get to direct fairly often. She uses me as a coach sometimes. She uses me as a director so she can coach or listen. And of course, I think most of you know she had medical issues in the last year and a half. And so I got the opportunity to do more directing while she wasn't able to be there every single week. Although she's a trooper, she didn't miss many weeks.
Yeah.
So I do get to direct some of our local sing outs. We actually have a team that I'm the only official assistant director, but we have a directing team of other people that are able to direct sing outs locally. And I have directed a couple of times on the contest stage. So like Paula said, it's an amazing learning opportunity and growth. And I have never thought of myself as a leader, but I've had to mentally go there. It's hard sometimes to still see myself that way, but
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about the unique position assistant directors are in, because nobody else in the chorus is in that same boat.
And I feel like I am like a buffer between the chorus and her, and a support to all the other leadership in the chorus, whether it's administrative or musical.
Yeah, you have just taught the class, so there we go. Nicely done. All right, Sally. So tell me, why are you an assistant director?
Well, I have not been doing this, maybe a year or so. Margaret has, in her career, part of her career has been as a travel agent, and was traveling fairly often and would be away would have to miss some rehearsals. And I was basically just offering to help her when she was gone. That was my motivation. It's not so much that I'm interested in being a director. I wanted to be a help to Margaret and to the chorus. So I have no training other than standing, having directors stand in front of me for 20 years and trying to pay attention to what they do. And I pay a lot more attention now. That was something I did at International. It was watch the directors a lot of the time. And I'm interested in doing a good job. And as far as working in our chorus, Margaret has allowed me and another person in our chorus who has some interest to select a song or two to direct. It's good practice. And when we've had a couple of sing outs where I've had to direct, but those are situations where the chorus knows the music, so it's pretty much get them started and maybe get the tempo set and get them stopped. As far as like actually teaching a song, interpreting the music, all of that, I would have so much to learn to really get to that level. So I'm just a beginner. I'm just a helper.
And a great helper at that, if I do say so myself. I thought it was interesting that Therese had talked earlier about how chorus cultures are different. And that's very important for you to keep in mind that some of the things that I may suggest might not work in your chorus and might not work with your director. But hopefully we can together think about kind of expand our thinking about the role of an assistant director. These are the things that I thought of. Why be an assistant director? Well, the director has a lot to do, and probably needs a little bit of help here and there. Let's be honest, directors, we're fantastic, but not fantastic at everything. And so sometimes an assistant director can come in and help out where a director is lacking skills. And as Melody mentioned, and Sally has had to experience as well, sometimes the director has temporary personal things that keep them from coming to a performance or a rehearsal, and we need an assistant director there who can jump in and say, well, let's make good use of this time. And Sally has done that for me, and I'm appreciative of that. But also from kind of your point of view, that you have talents that you may want to share, or that you want to try something new, or you want to improve on the skills that you already have. So those are some of the things that I was thinking of. Assistant directors, and we've talked about this a little bit, are uniquely positioned in the chorus, and there really is no one else in the chorus that is both on the risers and off the risers. So you have a perspective that the director rarely gets, which is that perspective of being on the risers and being aware of what's happening on the risers and happening in the director's hands that's affecting what's happening on the risers, right? And then the reverse is true, that you are a member of the chorus and yet you have the opportunity to stand in front of the chorus and hear the chorus as a whole, where I have wanted to, but I have not done it as often as I need to, which is to ask members to come stand down here and listen, because it is an interesting perspective. And it really does change the way somebody is going to think about how they sing on the risers. Assistant directors are utility players. We ask them to do almost anything that needs to be done. So that could be musically, that could be relationship wise, that could be administratively. Paula used the example of just making sure there was a pencil on the music stand for the director. Or that wasn't you, Paula, was it?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, it was you. Yeah. And assistant directors are very valuable members of the chorus and friends to each of the members of the chorus, and a friend to the director, and a valuable musician as well. So your role is huge, in my opinion, bigger than the directors, I think, almost. I put this in because really all it takes is somebody who's willing. And I was going to say, and since you're all willing, then we're good to go. But it's willing to do what? And so the first thing, and Melody, you had mentioned this, that Peggy was interested in having you be the assistant director because she felt you had the chorus's interest at heart over and above yours. And that really is what service is about. And that's critical to a successful assistant director and director partnership. It takes somebody willing to put in extra time. And again, these are things that I'm sure you're all going, yeah, I know that. This is very important. It takes someone who's willing to recognize hard work and effort. And so first of all, you have to be looking for it, right? We don't often recognize hard work and effort if we're not looking for it. And then acknowledge hard work and effort when we see it or when we hear it. And that's the hard work and effort of the chorus, maybe a particular member, but it is also the hard work and effort of the director. Let me tell you, directors need cheerleaders. Directors need somebody saying to them, what you did there, that was great. I used to tell my staff, I never had a lot of staff, but the staff that I had, I told them, if you liked something that I did, please tell me that you liked it because you'll get more of it. If you don't tell me, then I may or may not do it again. So that recognizing hard work and effort is critical. And oftentimes you can hear what's happening on the risers that a director may not hear. You may hear something that needs to be acknowledged. And so I encourage you to speak up when you're on the risers for that reason. And to be the director's eyes and ears on the risers, what I was just saying, that you may hear that there's something happening on the risers the director may not hear. I think this is the area that for me takes the most skill, and I think Sally, you might agree with me. It's that directing and listening at the same time. I'm so worried about my hands, or I'm thinking about whose cue is the next one, that I'm actually not listening. So having somebody on the risers who's singing and listening can also be very helpful. Assistant directors in this unique position that you're in you have to be willing to provide sincere and honest feedback to the chorus members as well as to the director. Directors need somebody there providing that kind of coaching on a regular basis, or we get stuck in habits, and they might be bad habits. So you can help us break them. And like Paula mentioned, do some tasks that the director doesn't want to do or doesn't do well, if that happens to be an area where you can help out. And lastly, but not least, is an unfailing commitment to unity. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So you have to be willing to seek unity. We talked about it in Paula's class earlier. You have to be on the same page with the goals that the director has, that the chorus has, and that your own goals, so that the director is aware of what goals you have, and you're aware of the director's goals, and you're aware of the mission and vision for the chorus, and that we're all working together to make that happen. Also, seeking unity in decisions, and that's leadership decisions as well as director decisions. Sometimes the leadership or a director may make a decision about a song that you're not necessarily excited about, but as assistant director, you have to be on that same page and find a way to be unified in that decision and support that decision. And that's really, really tough. Unity of musical interpretation. So if you are asked to direct a song that the director has taught and developed an interpretation for, you kind of have to stick to that interpretation. And again, I think this is very, very challenging. It's nice to be the director and go, wait a minute, I don't like the way that sounded, I'm going to change it. But as an assistant director, you can have the conversation with the director, but you can't in the moment change the interpretation. And then also as unity in techniques that the director is trying to teach. So I know I use bel canto because I know that Alaska Sound Celebration is, and Peggy is very much into this. And so if you have a director that is, then you need to become an expert in those techniques as well. So tell me a little bit about where you think your strengths lie in relationship to your role as an assistant director. Sally, would you start with this one?
Well, I will try. I think one of, I would say, our strengths is that you and I communicate well with each other. And I think I take feedback from you well, and you ask me for feedback and you accept it well. I appreciate that. Otherwise, the strength, I think I just would say I'm there for the chorus. So whatever I can do for the chorus to help, that's what I want to do. So I have that attitude of, I'm going to make this work. I volunteered, signed up for this, volunteered for this. So now I have to make it work. And I am trying to do that, trying to do better. I practice. So I do give it the time. I would say that may be a strength, or it may be just a function of the fact that I'm retired and I have time to give, but I do try to devote an appropriate amount of attention to what you've asked me to do.
Yeah, that goes back to that willingness to give the extra time, and you are definitely willing to do that. And I could sit here and sing praises about Sally, but I'm going to try not to do that. So Melody, tell us where you think your strengths lie. So we heard one that Peggy identified, which is that you are putting the chorus first. That's huge.
I think my biggest strength in rehearsals and coaching is my willingness to step out without advance warning and do whatever it is Peggy wants me to do. She doesn't have to call me ahead of time and say, now there are times when she wants me to listen to something specific or do something specific, and she will call and talk to me about the details, but she appreciates that in the heat of the moment, if something comes up, she's able to say, Melody, would you come out and do whatever? And she knows I'm not gonna like throw up or it's yeah. And I'm perfectly okay failing in front of the chorus and saying, let's try that again. So I can do it right. That doesn't bother me.
That is a huge strength. And I need to do it more often, honestly. Ms. Paula, tell us about your strengths as an assistant director.
I think when I started, my initial strength was that I was a choral director. So I understood how to direct. And I remember when Dale chose me, she said, I chose you because your hands look like mine.
Oh,
The chorus doesn't have to get used to a totally different style. And so that's all I didn't know. I don't think she knew what to do with me because she'd never had one before. What I did learn was that my people skills were one of the biggest things that that's where I focused most of my time, because I was the filter between the chorus and the director. So Dale is by nature introverted, and 40 years ago she was more so than she is now. Quite a bit more so. And so most people didn't approach her very much. But they would approach me, and then my job was to decide, was that worthy of going to the director, or was that just something I should take care of, or that kind of thing. Because sometimes she'd say, I don't want to deal with that. You deal with it. So people skills, I think, were one of the skills that I used besides just being a musician.
and that goes back to that unique position that assistant directors have of being a member and a singer, but also a director and a leader. And the people skills are so helpful, because I oftentimes do not take time to acknowledge people. When at rehearsal, I tend to be thinking group. But the truth of the matter is the group is made up of individuals who need to be heard and acknowledged and loved and cared for. And the assistant director can help me do that. Hint, hint, Sally.
I heard.
Yeah. So these are some of the things that I was thinking about when I think of somebody's strengths who's singing in a Sweet Adeline chorus. The listening skills are very important, and that is listening not only to the music, but listening to the people the members, when they're sharing. Coaching skills, I don't need to read these for you. I will have at the end some books that I'm going to share with you that have been helpful resources for me in many of my careers, but in especially this one. So thanks for sharing your strengths. What I'm interested in is a little bit of an assessment of what are you currently doing for your course as an assistant director, and why? And Paula, you have an assistant and an associate director, is that right? So I might have you share not only what were you doing as an assistant director and why, but how are you using your assistant and associate? Would you be willing to start with those?
Sure. I use both of them as a sounding board. I usually run music choices that I'm thinking of using. I run them through them. If I feel like that I can hear the chorus singing it, then the question is, do you hear the chorus singing it? Am I just dreaming this in my mind or whatever? So they are sounding boards. Sometimes I ask either one of them to come out and listen and coach a little bit.
Coach the chorus?
The chorus. Mm-hmm. And both of them know that they always have permission to come say, I think we should think about this, whatever it is, whether it's something I should do differently or the chorus should be doing differently or whatever. I guess what I really need most from them is somebody. I don't like feeling alone in that position. I want somebody alongside me and that I can bounce things off of. So, and then either one of them can direct for a performance if I'm not there. So, and I use both of them, like when I'm playing instruments or, whatever it is, they do cutoffs or entrances or whatever.
I have a question for you, but we'll go on and then we'll come back to that. So Melody, tell me how Peggy is using you. What things are you doing and why are you doing them?
I definitely do vocal warm-ups, but we also have a vocal warm-up team. So I'm not doing them every week. I create the schedule and usually create. Right now we're using standard warm-ups, the same thing every week that are bel canto warm-ups. But then when we're through with those, we have something else that we usually do that's a 4-part something. And so I usually create either the specific song that we're doing or the technique that we want to work on as we're doing that song, and publish that both for the people that are going to be doing the warm-ups as well as I put it on the course schedule so they see it ahead of time and know, oh, I don't know that song, I better have the music on the risers with me, or oh, I know when I'm singing it, this is what I need to be working on.
Wow, that's a lot.
I'm like Sally, I'm past the working, so I have time to do that, and I enjoy it. It has benefited as well. So when you get a good response to it, and the course members have responded really well to it. This summer we've been running at the end of warm-ups. We've been running our Christmas music, just rotating one song each week, because this next weekend we have 3 sing-outs we're doing. So we didn't want to spend the time working those songs during rehearsal very much. We will be Tuesday night. We've had to cancel the last 2 Tuesdays because of weather and illness. So
wow,
yeah.
And so when you said you create the schedule, the song and technique, this is like the warm-up plan,
Yes.
future, yeah. And so sometimes your warm-up is a song, and then sometimes you're developing a warm-up for a particular technique.
Well, we have 4 standard bel canto warm-ups that we do every week.
Right.
But once we've completed those, then we like to do something in 4-part.
Got it.
And there are times when it's whoever's leading the warm-ups, it's their choice. I guess since we started bel canto, we haven't done as much work on technique. We did for several years, like 1 month. This is the technique we're working on all month in our warm-ups, and then it changes the next month. And most of that information came from things we learned during coaching or issues that came up during coaching, and we just ran with it.
Okay, great. Sally, what are the things that you're doing as an assistant director? And are you, my question about why is, are you doing them because you like to do it, or are you doing it because the director needs you to do it?
Well, I do warm-ups occasionally. We don't have a schedule. I made a note of that. I think it's wonderful you have a vocal warm-up team. We, I think I would say there's 3 of us, Margaret, myself, and another member who kind of will do warm-ups. I would say Margaret does them more often, and that's okay too. But so I've been working on that. That actually got started during COVID when we were on Zoom. We started having a chance to do warm-ups on Zoom, and that's kind of continued since then. So I think that's kind of fun. I enjoy doing warm-ups. And otherwise, I have my holiday song that I am directing for our sing-outs. If Margaret wants me to, there have been times, and if you want to do it more, that's fine with me. She'll ask me to step out and listen. And I like to do that because I really think I need to work on that, to focus on the listening, because I'm like you still, I'm concerned about what my hands are doing and getting people started. So I'd like to do that. Other than that, I'm a section leader, which is not quite the same thing, but has some of the same responsibilities in there too, for like knowing the music well and being prepared in that way. Try to pay extra close attention during coaching, and record and go over notes so that I can apply those things when I am directing, so that carries over. And whatever else Margaret would like me to do. For a while, we were meeting kind of every other month. We need to have another meeting and just kind of talking about stuff, talking about all things chorus. And that's been really, I thought that was really helpful. So
Yeah, we need to get back on that for sure. The music team for sure. Okay, so thanks. That's helpful. I'm honestly, I'm getting ideas about how to use my assistant director and people who want to direct in my course. I'm getting ideas about how to use them more effectively. This is really, this workshop is more about me than it is you. Yes, Ms. Paula.
I thought of one other thing that I did mention that I asked them to come out and coach periodically, or if I see something or hear something going on that I think that they would be the ones that would address it well, then I'll ask them to come out and do that. But both of them also know they always have permission. If they leave the chorus and walk out in front of the chorus, then that just cues me to know that they want, to do something. They heard something, they felt something, they did something that they want to address, but they just stand there and wait until I acknowledge them, because, I'm trying to do whatever it is I'm addressing. But then when I'm done, I'll go, what do you have? What do you, yep. What do you want to talk to us about? So they always have permission to just step out, because they hear things that they want to deal with too.
Exactly. And they're hearing something different on the risers than the director is hearing at down in front. And it's way easier to catch it, nip something in the bud. So I really like that, which is the idea of certainly the music team coming off the risers at any point. And so Sally, I'm giving you permission to come off and listen anytime you want to listen. And then if you what I need to do is make sure that Patty and Jan know that as well. And I would eventually like to expand that, and for me to get in the habit of asking just random members to come down and listen. And try not to put, I have a pretty good idea of the ones that I can ask, what did you hear? Or what did you like? You know, what, and I need to do more of that. So thank you for, yeah, Melody.
One of the other major things I do, we're a very baritone chorus in our personalities. And so Peggy has me record, not the whole coaching session. I just start it when the coach starts talking and stop it when we start singing. And then I transcribe the notes and post them on Groupinizer. They're more for Peggy than for the chorus, Peggy and the section leaders. But certainly they're for the members too, and they're accessed easily. Anybody in the chorus can get them. So
Interesting. You're recording what the coach is actually saying, not necessarily what the chorus sounded like when they tried it or whatever.
Right.
We just had Ted coach us last Tuesday. And Ted is like drinking from a fire hose, I just tell you. So what I did was actually video so I could watch him, because he uses his hands and his body so effectively. So for me, that was important. But I just today transcribed the recording. And I think what I need to do is post it to Groupinizer so everybody has it. That's a great idea. So thank you. I'm learning so much. I'm so glad I taught this.
We tried a video, but the building that we're in messes with any type of technology. So we haven't been real successful with the videos. So this has been more effective for Peggy to use.
Yeah, that whatever works. And for me, I just would videotape, maybe a minute or two. Yeah, Paula.
I was just going to say, while I was directing Jet Cities, I just discovered, and it was an amazing thing, they have a person on the risers, and she's not the section leader. I don't know if she's on the music team. I mean, she's not a section leader, I'll put it that way. But anyway, she took notes through every rehearsal and then would send an email out to everybody with a recap of what we did at that rehearsal. I mean, pretty detailed.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was like every week I'd go, wow, look at that. Somebody listened. Yay. So I just thought that was wonderful. And she obviously knows what she's doing, but she's not a section leader. So, it's just including somebody else to do some of that stuff too.
We tried to get somebody else to do it and nobody was willing.
It's a lot of listening, but I think she writes it down in real time. I don't
probably knows shorthand.
Yeah, could be.
That's what I was going to ask, was like, is she making written notes, or she might be making a verbal, just a note in quietly. But man, that would be really helpful for me, because do you know how many times people have said, well, that's not the way you taught us last week. Yeah, so somewhere between, I've changed from in the last 7 days. Let's see. Oh, well, we're still doing good on time. I would like you to think about a couple of strengths and then growth opportunities for each of these folks. So, and I will only ask you to share what you're comfortable sharing. So Sally, I won't ask you to write down growth. Actually, I will. I'll ask you about growth opportunities for me. But so just one or two in your chorus. What's your chorus's strength? What's your director's strength at this point? Director's strength, and where do you see your director needing to grow? Which may be very hard for some of you. I'll be quiet. And then after you have that, just one or two strengths that you see in your chorus. Doesn't have to be musical. And where are there growth opportunities in your chorus? And then lastly, when we talked a little bit earlier about your own strengths, but what areas or area would you like to grow a little bit more in? And then my question for these is, if you're willing to share, and only what you're comfortable sharing, what could you do to help the director in one or more of those areas? Are you pondering? If you're, I would like you to think about this after, either tonight or tomorrow, because I think that, again, assistant directors are uniquely positioned to see strength and growth opportunities and may be able to step up and say, hey, I think I can help you here. Or I want to learn from that strength. You're great at doing this, and I want to get better at that. So we'll move on to the next one. And really my question is, how can your strengths be applied to add to the director's strengths, the chorus's strengths, your own strength? So this is a little thought exercise for you to think about. So I always want to leave you with things to do, action items to expand your own knowledge and your strength. And one of the challenges is learning how to identify strengths and areas of growth, whether you're talking about your director or your chorus. Certainly, you should be in communication with your leadership team, and the leadership team should be asking the chorus. So I'm sure your chorus has a mission and a vision statement, and that your chorus members were a participant in making those. But you can also ask not only the chorus where they feel their strengths and areas of growth opportunities are, but you can ask your director. You can ask those you trust to mentor or help you be a little bit more self-aware.
I think you muted yourself, Margaret.
I certainly did. And it even came on and said you muted yourself. You can, one of the best things you can do is just observe. Observe what the director did, and then ask yourself, what was the result in the chorus? I'm speaking very musically at this point. Right now, I've had so many directors, Paula, I think you were one of them. Charlene certainly has said to me, if you are not getting the result you want from the chorus, it's probably something you're doing it with your hands. So you can learn from your director by observing. And then if you see an area where the director is actually getting in the way of the music, you can share that with your director. That's a great value if your director is open to hearing that. Listen, ask yourself, what was the result after you listened? Reread the judge's comments, and ask a non-musical friend or family, what is the strength or the area to grow in? All right, so we're going to get kicked out here pretty soon. I want to share, and these, oh, I hope we don't get kicked out just yet.
I think you have 5 minutes.
Okay, so here's some things that you could do as an assistant director with the approval, obviously, of your director. But well, the first one, initiate a conversation with your director. If you haven't done that recently, if you haven't, if the two of you haven't talked, to confirm that both of you are on the same page about what you want and what the director wants. And don't wait for your director to do it. If you feel the need for a conversation, take the bull by the horns and do that. I would challenge you to voice place guests and maybe even voice place members, because let me tell you, that will help your ear. And I hate doing it, but you have to do it in front of the members, right? That's the only way to do it. And I'm new to it. But it's a great experience, and your choruses are supportive, so they'll love you for it. Plan and direct an entire hour of rehearsal, if not an entire rehearsal. And poor Sally only gets to direct an entire rehearsal when I call her and say I'm sick and I can't come. But if you plan it out, we could do that. Plan and facilitate a music team meeting. That's something I would appreciate. Be prepared to direct sing-outs and competition sets, because boy, your chorus has worked very, very hard on those songs. And if something should happen to your director, wouldn't it be sad if you had to just say, I'm sorry, we can't go, we can't sing. And then step off the risers and listen to at least one song every rehearsal, and then provide feedback to the director in the chorus. And we've talked about that a little bit. So I'm going to leave you with this page really quick. There are some wonderful resources. So I'm assuming assistant directors can get into the director's toolkit in Sweet Adeline's, the international website. There's great stuff there. Region 13 has the Preparing Exceptional Performance program. This is where you can get coaches to come in at no cost to the chorus. And we just got an email about that. I'm so excited to invite people to come. And so, say, hey, I'd like somebody to come and help coach me as an assistant director. Crucial Conversations is a book that I love. The title of the book is Talking when the stakes are high. Tools for talking when the stakes are high. It's very good. Acting Songs is a great little book about visual expression, visual communication. How to Train Singers is a great one for warm-ups and just techniques to use. Bel Canto Buzz by Deborah Lynn. I love Kathleen Hansen and Jen Cook for warm-ups and rounds. Ear training apps, those are all the apps that I have on my phone that help me train my ear. And you can always talk to your director, talk to your members, and you can always talk to me. I'm happy to help out in any way I can, because I think the assistant director role is so very important for every chorus. I think we have a little bit of time. Do you have any questions or thoughts or comments to wrap up? I just want to, oh yes, Melody.
I just want to say I'm going to leave when we're done with this session. I am getting sicker by the minute. My temperature's going higher. I'm going to go to bed, and I'll try to be there in the morning because this has been really helpful. Thank you both so much
Oh,
for leading
thank
these sessions.
I'm so glad you participated. Please get well.
Feel
Feel
better.
better, Melody.
Take
I'll
care.
try.
On
Yeah,
COVID.
All right, I'll meet you
And
guys
going
in the
around the
Yeah.
international COVID out.
I think she's beyond that now. She's been home too long to get
Yeah.